Hey guys, so we've been working really hard this week. We have revised our story by adding or taking out a word. We have edited by making sure our sentences started with capital letters and periods and had the correct spelling. Today is one of the final steps of the writing process, and it's one of the most fun, and that is where you get to publish your story. So when you publish your story, what you do is you make a very neat copy of it with all of the things that you fixed in the new published version, and then you get to illustrate your story. Okay? So we're not just doing this writing process because it's something like that Mineola Primary School made up for you to do. The writing process is actually something that real authors go through whenever they write their real stories, such as Knuffle Bunny or Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. All of those different stories, not just Mo Willems, every author goes through this process when they write their stories. They start out by thinking, by brainstorming or planning what they want their book to be about, and then they start drafting it where they just write it out. It's kind of like a sloppy copy where it's not perfect. They just get their story on paper, and then they go to the next step of where they revise and look at what they need to take out or add to make it better. And then they go to the next step of checking spelling and capital letters and periods. And then finally, when they go to publish their story, like you are about to do today, when they publish their book, that is actually when they put their writing into a book that you actually get to read, the real book. So real authors do just what you do because you're a real author too. They go through these same exact steps that we're going through today. Okay, so today we're going to publish, and I'm going to turn to where you can see. So when we publish, you are going to choose some paper that you want to make into your actual published version. Sometimes when we publish our story, we can just publish it to where it's all on one paper, nice and neat, or you can choose to make your story into a book where you have it written on multiple papers. Today I'm going to make mine into a book. I at school would have different paper for you to choose from, but I just have some notebook paper like you may have at home too, and we're going to publish it that way. You are going to be writing yours in pencil. I'm going to write in pen just so that hopefully you can see a little bit better of what I'm writing. So when you choose to write your story in a book form, before you start publishing it, you kind of want to look at the story and decide what's going to be on what page and what would make sense. Because otherwise, if you just start writing without really planning out your pages, it doesn't work. So let's read my story and figure out what I want to be on page 1, what I want to be on page 2. Let's see. I had the most amazing experience in Colorado on vacation. I got to feed 2 real chipmunks. Okay, I think that may be my first page. So I like to draw a line like this so that I know these sentences are on the first page. And you could do this too if you're doing pages. We had to hike to the very top of a mountain. Okay, I think that may be my next page. And I can draw a picture of us hiking to the top of the mountain. When we got to the top, there were little chipmunks running everywhere. Okay, so that may be my next sentence, my next page. We brought sunflower seeds to feed the chipmunks. I found a big rock to sit on. I sat as still as I could with the sunflower seeds in my hand. Okay, so I think that may be the end of my next page there. It's all about the sunflower seeds and how I sat as still as I could. A tiny little chipmunk ran up and started to eat from my hand. Feeding the chipmunks was so much fun. Okay, so I think I'll make the part where they eat from my hand one page, and then the last page can be about how much fun it was. So I'm going to have several pages in my story. And like I said, I just have notebook paper. In class, I actually have some really cool paper that has like lines and then a place for the picture. If you're doing this at home, you could have an adult like actually make you a little picture box for where your pictures will go in your story. It's up to you, or you could not have a box for pictures and just do it wherever, however you want to do it. Okay, so when I go to publish, I'm going to write word for word what I have already written. I'm not making up a whole new story, okay? This is the easy day where you just have to copy what you already have. Okay, so I'm going to write. And I'm kind of writing, instead of on these tiny lines, because these are really small on my notebook paper, I'm using 2 lines to write. And I'm going to hold this up where y'all can see it better in a little bit. I know it's probably hard to see. Okay, so I had the most amazing experience. Now notice, this is something that I revised. I'm going to make sure that I spell it the right way in my published version because I spent time figuring out how to spell it the right way. So I'm not just going to guess again. I'm going to write the right way to spell it. Okay, so E-X-P-E-R-I-E-N-C-E. I had the most amazing experience in Colorado on vacation. Okay, now look, here's where I'm at. On vacation, I added a period here. So in my published story, I need to make sure that period is there. Now when I go to write it in my published story, I don't need to draw that circle around it. The circle is just the editing mark for adding a period. When you add a period for your published story like I'm doing today, I just put the period there. I don't need to put the mark or anything. Okay, so next, this is still on the same page. I got to feed real chipmunks. I got to feed... Oh, and you know what? I just skipped over it, but this was something that I needed to fix with spelling, and I figured out it's not T-W-O, it's T-O. So in my published writing, I wrote it correctly, and I wrote T-O instead of T-W-O. I got to feed real chipmunks. Oh, okay. So this is where I stopped planning for page 1, and I decided my next sentence I wanted to be on the next page, so that's all I need to put on this page of my story. I had the most amazing experience in Colorado on vacation. I got to feed real chipmunks. So later, after I've written my whole story, I can go back and add my picture, but right now I'm just worried about getting the words done first. Okay, so now I need my next page. I think on the next page I'm going to change it up and I'm going to let the picture part be on the bottom and my words be on the top. Okay, now on this next part, I said that this needs to be a capital letter. So I need to make sure that I start my sentence with a capital letter. We had to, I'm going to make sure I spell hike correctly. We had to hike to, notice I'm just copying word for word what it says. I'm not trying to think of anything different or add more words. We had to hike to the very top of oh, now remember, I revised here and I said I wanted to add in the word tall. So in my published paper, I'm going to write the word tall. Right after A, we had to hike to the very top of a tall mountain. And I'm going to spell mountain correctly. Period. And then I said my next page was going to be, my next sentence was going to be on my next page. So I'll change pages again. But see how I'm just copying exactly what I had onto my published paper, okay? I am not adding a whole new story to this. I'm not coming up with anything different. This is easy peasy. All I'm doing is copying what I have fixed, and I'm making sure I add in the things I revised because that's what makes my story better. This is what real authors do, and you're a real author. So when you publish, you want to make it the very, very best version with the best handwriting, because this is what you're going to share with everyone. And we are actually going to share our stories tomorrow. So I'm going to continue writing my story and publishing it and making sure I add in everything that I had wanted to. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a picture on my pages. Remember, if you didn't want to do multiple pages, you could just write your whole story on one page. It's up to you, but I always think it's fun to make a book. When I'm done, I am going to make a cover for my story and put my title. And I think my title may be, maybe I'm going to call it Chipmunks in Colorado. That sounds like an interesting title. So on my title page, it's just like the cover of a book. This is the cover of my book. Chipmunks in Colorado. And then I'm going to write the author's name. So I'm going to write, because the author's me, actually I think I'll write the title here, I'm going to do a picture here, and then at the bottom I'll write written and illustrated by Mrs. Clark. Okay, so you'll want to do this too when you're finished. Create a cover for your book. I'm not done yet. I just am kind of stopping because I know y'all don't want to sit here and watch me copy my entire story. Yours is probably a little shorter than mine, so it won't take as long as me. But remember, copying exactly what you have on your paper, because you already did all of the hard work. You're not writing a new story today. Copying what you had, and then after you've copied it all, go back and add pictures to help tell your story, and then design your cover for your book. If you have a stapler at home, you could staple these together. It's up to your parents. But be ready to share this with me for your assignment. You need to submit your finished book today, and then tomorrow you're going to be actually reading your book, and then as a class, we're going to go through and listen to our friends read their stories and leave them a comment on their story. So this is a big deal that you finish this today. That way you're ready to share it tomorrow. I can't wait to see all of the hard work that you guys have done. I know the writing process does take a lot of time, but it's so worth it when you design these awesome books in the end. So be patient today. Take your time. Use your neatest handwriting to design and complete your published story. Have fun!